Okay, so before we start, and actually, here's a question I didn't say. What's it called?
It's called the GGPD.
The GGPD.
PD. Yeah.
Right, so it's that police department
Yeah.
or prefect department.
Yeah.
So it's the Guernsey grammar or Gregson grammar.
Yeah,
we had
to change it to Gregson. It was changed to something else, but then one of the actors actually said Gregson, so we had to change it back to that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay. Well, I'm kind of flattered you've named your authoritarian military kind of high school after me. Right. So, what you've created is, or what you've sought to create was a mockumentary. Okay. Now, right at the beginning, I said this is really hard, and I was skeptical, but you've proved me wrong. So, could one of you define what a mockumentary is?
It's a documentary, but it's done in a style in which mocks the conventions of a documentary.
So
it's postmodern documentary.
It's a postmodern documentary. So it uses conventions of documentary. Okay, and in a moment, I'm going to ask you such as. Okay, so it uses conventions of documentary, but it kind of mocks, and it kind of mocks what?
Not just like the documentary style, but also what they're pretending to make a documentary about.
Good. So you're trying to kind of mock, lampoon the characters and their overblown sense of self-importance.
Yeah.
That's kind of a lot of, mockumentaries seem to be looking at characters and making fun of their attitudes. Okay. So, and like we said before, and I won't make you say it, so Dom, you're the cinematographer, and so you were going to wanted to use cinematography conventional to a documentary. How did you think you would achieve that?
Well, by kind of having moments where like something unexpected would happen, say in a documentary, where you have to kind of improvise your camera setup, so using a steady cam and moving around within the documentary, because unexpected things would happen.
Right.
But then using movements as well for comedy as well to kind of emphasize that as well.
Emphasize these kind of absurd things which happen, which seem to be kind of accidental. How about editing? How do you edit to make fun of something?
Well, obviously I've gone with the basic sort of simple cuts and then transitions between different times of day, but instead of having like a slide or something that would be like normally used, I've had a crossfade in, so you can still catch the end of that scene, where one of our actors, one of these parts, an actor apologized for spitting on the other one,
right.
But we actually had that rolling, and I thought that's quite funny, I'm going to keep that in.
I
had it as the transition, so you hear that and you still sort of see it as it fades into the corridor.
Oh, right.
I thought that would be
excellent.
Quite funny to do.
Brilliant. So you've both gone from, there's an important moment, I think, in the documentary, and I'm sure we'll come to it in a bit, where we've got this kind of sense of voyeurism, where you've tried to create the sense that these people are being watched but don't know it, and so are behaving that they kind of know they're being filmed, but not at that moment, and so that reveals something about them. It reveals, that really behind this facade of self-importance, they're kind of weak and slightly ridiculous. Especially your central character, who's called Barry.
Yeah.
And his relationship with his mother is the thing. So you've got this kind of slightly odd, childlike dependence on his mother. Isn't that what the sort of thing you've gone for?
Yeah.
So on the one hand, you've got him being he's in a position of kind of authority, and an extreme authority in some regards, but he's also ridiculous because he still needs his mum to kind of hold his hand and help him out with all sorts of stuff. Right. So, right. Let's start having a look at it. And
it's quite loud at the beginning.
Is it?
Yeah.
I'm not. So obviously that's Andre. He's clearly. Do you think that's a good technique that he's using?
Yeah.
I think it kind of immediately goes off that, yeah, we're in a school.
Yeah, and it's abrupt, it's sharp,
Yeah.
it's it's
Throws you right into it.
yeah, it does. And it's jarring in that kind of sense. Okay, so your introductory sequence, I wouldn't mind you talking about your edit for that. What were you trying to achieve?
Well, I was actually editing to the beat, so we could, as you hear, like there's the 2 beats of the bass, and then it will switch clips.
Good.
Um,
And obviously it's a montage.
yeah.
And what were you trying to achieve in
I
that
was trying to
montage?
give the sense that it's like a TV show, like it was made for television. Because as you see in a lot of shows, they have introductions that if it's going to be a multi-episode series, they'll play at the beginning so you know instantly what it is.
Okay, yes. So it kind of establishes the kind of nature of the program. What about obviously what you've used montage there for? Well, both of you is to create an impression of the school. So very quickly we have this bell, which we strongly associate with schools, and then we've got this montage of lots of little clips. So we think, right, okay, we're in a school environment, and the students know that. I like what Andre's done with the music. Within that, there's kind of this kind of urgency to it, which I think he was going for. This kind of drama within it, and as well as a sense, I think he was trying to mix it in with a kind of slightly overblown, like cop show or something like that.
Yeah.
That's the sort of thing he was going for. Do you think he managed it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it works quite well. Actually.
I think it does. I think there's this kind of sense of drama and urgency kind of within it. Okay.
Which only accepts the highest numbers of students or the largest check. It is the home to the GGPD, Gameswood Grammar Prefect Department. They are crack students, the best of the best. The success of the grammar school has largely been down to the rigid discipline enforced by these elite students. Today they have a new recruit.
Okay, so you've used voiceover, and this is clearly, I'm not sure, this isn't obviously about your roles, maybe a little bit about Andre's, but in terms of that collaborative decision, why have you used a voiceover?
It's used in documentaries quite a lot to establish the kind of status quo of the school.
Good. It's about establishing. Another word, sometimes they call it about anchoring meaning. So you establish the nature of the place. You've got the montage and you establish the nature of the place. You also set up the narrative at the end. You give us, right, this is a day for this new recruit. Okay, so very quickly, you've done quite a lot of work to establish, where we are, the nature of the place, and that there is a story about to unfold for this particular character. And obviously the voiceover does that.
Really pleased you're part of the team. You did a really good job. Come in. Hello.
So that's, cinematography. So what are you doing there? How is that conventional of a kind of a documentary about schools, prisons, whatever you might say?
Yeah.
We start on our 2 characters sitting. There's a knock on the door, and there's no cut.
No, because it's the event happening at that point. It's not like they're going to wait or tell them, no, you can't come in.
Right.
Yeah, so it's,
And so actually, in many ways, sometimes documentaries are less set up. You're not shooting reverse shots.
Yeah.
The idea is you're a single camera, and something's happened, and then you're following, and you're cutting to that kind of that movement. It's interesting that you end on a low angle here of Gabe, which gives him quite a lot of authority, which is quite interesting. Was that deliberate?
No. But it can be.
Because he's acting kind of nervous and anxious and stuff like that. So obviously you started low at the level of the 2 people sitting down, and then it kind of comes.
Sorry, I'm late. My car stalled on my way here, and the traffic was a mess.
It's nice. You've got him on the 3rd. You've got him some lead space.
The hills are really steep. Don't worry, I'm not a bad driver. I can get here a lot earlier. Hi, my name is Barry.
Okay, and then you cut to a talking head kind of interview. See.